You took him from me. And I hurt every day. Every second of the day I hurt.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom. Oh my gosh.
Why is she still free? And where is the baby? And as a mother, you need to help find your baby.
Nobody's gonna ever be able to fix my brother's heart. Nobody can fix that.
I failed her as a mom. I allowed addiction to take over my life at a young age.
This Karen shot her 4 daughters and called 911 before shooting herself.
They were amazing. They were lights to the world.
It was here on the 200th block of Shoshone Avenue where the unimaginable took place. It was approximately 1:30 in the afternoon when 32-year-old Tranielle Harshman called 911, reporting that her 4 children had been shot and were likely dead. On that 911 call, Harshman said 2 of her kids, both 2 years old, were upstairs in their cribs, and the other 2 children were downstairs in their bedroom. Then Harshman said she would shoot herself.
When you're in a small community like this, you know everyone, you rub shoulders with everyone, and it's just devastating.
First responders arrived and found 2 of the kids, a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old, still alive. But the 2-year-old passed away a short time later. The 7-year-old was taken to the hospital and survived. The Bighorn County Sheriff's Office confirmed that the mother died of her wounds. The tragedy has left the town of Byron grieving. Mayor Alan Clark says his heart goes out to the family and first responders involved.
I don't want to dwell on what's happened. We want to dwell on what's next.
One of Tranielle's former classmates, Sage Myers, says the event was out of character.
Tranielle was a grade ahead of me, and we partied a lot together, and she was just a great person, so nice to everybody. Man, I can't explain how there was no cracks, there was no dings, there's no chips to be seen.
Out of character is another trait described by one of Tranielle's friends, Brianna Baker, who said in a statement, quote, "Everything can change in an instant. Never allow yourself to think, it couldn't be me. She was sweet, loving, and funny. Use this as an opportunity to show compassion and togetherness." Cliff Harshman, the husband of Tranielle Harshman, said his wife was being treated for postpartum depression when she fatally shot her 4 kids and herself.
People don't understand how mental illness isn't just a willpower thing. It's chemical imbalances in your brain. She was an incredible mom. She loved those kids.
He also hoped people will be compassionate and understand just what a nightmare postpartum depression can be when they hear his family's tragic story. He also wished that doctors would warn would-be parents about the dangers of postpartum depression long before their babies are born. As for himself,
So in 85% of women, they'll experience something called the baby blues. And those are mild symptoms that'll go away within 14 days.
Like what?
You might be just more tearful, feeling sad at times, but you'll also still be able to feel happy as well. After 2 weeks, if you've had more serious symptoms, that would be signs of postpartum depression. And those symptoms include feeling very sad, worries. Women often say that they're exhausted, but they can't sleep because they're worrying about something happening with the baby. Feeling guilty, feeling worthless, trouble concentrating, and in the most serious, thoughts of death and suicide.
this Karen strangled her 3 young children.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor.
32-year-old Lindsay Clancy spoke from her hospital bed at her bail hearing. Police say she tried to jump out a second-floor window after strangling her children in the basement of her home.
Bail party across the top floor of the house.
She is now paralyzed from the waist down. Clancy was a labor and delivery nurse. She even made videos for newborn mothers.
So there are a lot of benefits for both mother and baby.
Her lawyers say she was suffering from postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis.
Basically, it's a psychotic episode, which means the individual may have hallucinations, delusions. They're really obviously not thinking straight and getting disconnected from reality.
But prosecutors say she was clear thinking and planned the murders.
She used Apple Maps to make sure she would have enough time to strangle each child before her husband returned from where she had sent him. The defendant did not take advantage of the situation when her husband left the home that night. She created the situation.
The prosecutor said Clancy used an exercise band to strangle 5-year-old Cora, 3-year-old Dawson, and 8-month-old Callan.
She had to strangle each of them to unconsciousness and then make sure the bands were squeezing their little necks for several minutes.
Clancy's defense attorney says she was seeking help that did not come in time.
She was having bad thoughts. She was having worsening depression. This is clearly a tragedy.
Clancy's husband, Patrick, says he forgives his wife, and so does this man. You might recall Russell Yates. He's the husband of the notorious Andrea Yates, who drowned their 5 children in a bathtub 22 years ago.
Next step of forgiveness, I'd say, is understanding it's a sickness. Like in this case, you can do all you can at home, but you really can't protect yourself from a psychotic person at home. I mean, they get up in the middle of the night and, light the house on fire.
George Parnham was Andrea Yates' attorney.
To come to a realization that you took the lives of the people that you gave life to. They have to live with this for the rest of their lives.
Dr. Catherine Berndorf treats women with postpartum depression.
She was not in her, quote, right mind when she made those decisions. She believed that by killing her kids, by killing herself, that she was probably helping them. She was not in a sane state of mind.
Dr. Berndorf says some patients will need to be medicated.
For postpartum psychosis, we often use at minimum 2 medications, a mood stabilizer and an antipsychotic. Those are 2 serious medications that work very well.
Lindsay Clancy's defense attorney also says she was over-medicated, taking 12 different drugs over a 4-month period. The trial of Lindsay Clancy has been delayed until 2026. This Karen was sentenced to life in prison for the murders of her 2 young sons.
We're going to call the case of Commonwealth versus Tiffany Lucas.
Tiffany Lucas sat facing the podium as one person after another shared their heartbreak over the deaths of 6-year-old Maurice Baker Jr. and 9-year-old Jaden Howard. The boys were shot and killed in 2023 in Bullitt County at the hands of their mother.
Anything less than the maximum punishment for her doing this to them will be unjust.
Jaden's grandmother fought through tears, saying her heart is in pieces.
You took him from me, and I hurt every day. Every second of the day, I hurt.
Nobody's gonna ever be able to fix my brother's heart. Nobody can fix that.
Lucas did not speak, and from the view in the back of the courtroom, her face could not be seen. But those talking directly to her said there were tears.
She cried today. That's the first time she's ever cried. And she cried to play on the judge.
Her attorneys played various video clips of Lucas from around the time of the shooting and said she was experiencing powerful delusions.
Essentially, Tiffany's psychotic episode was brought on by opioid withdrawal. She abstained from use, and in trying to get clean, this was the side effect.
They argued she tried turning the gun on herself, but it jammed. In the end, Judge Rodney Burris gave Lucas the maximum sentence she faced, life in prison on both counts. Lucas will be eligible for parole in 20 years, but the prosecution says the chances of her getting that are likely somewhere between slim and none. Still, for the family, their heartbreak remains.
And we all love him so much, Jaden and Maurice.
This Karen murdered her toddler son, then dumped his body in a trash bin. Leilani Simon murdered her son, 20-month-old Quinton, and then discarded his body in a dumpster. Simon, along with her boyfriend and 3 children, lived with her mother, Billie Howell. Howell had legal custody of Leilani's daughter and 2 sons, including little Quinton. And on October 5th, 2022, Leilani Simon would call 911 from her mother's house, telling investigators that her son, Quinton, had just vanished from their home. Police started searching for him that same day.
Boyfriend woke up, saw the child at 6 a.m. Mother woke up at some other time later. They reported the child missing at 9:39. I believe the call came into 911.
A week after Quinton was last seen, investigators named Simon a prime suspect but made no arrests. Police started searching a landfill nearby. Meanwhile, people protested outside of Leilani's home for days.
Why is she still free? And where is the baby? And as a mother, you need to help find your baby.
Eventually, Simon and Howell broke their silence.
We want him not to be found in that landfill. We want him found happy and alive. I'm here. I've been here every day since this. I am not running and I'm not hiding. And if something does come up that I am at fault, I will take myself to that police station.
After 47 days and a massive search, Quinton's remains were found in a Georgia landfill. Simon was soon arrested, and she told police she didn't know who killed her son and pleaded not guilty.
This afternoon, Chatham County Police Department detectives arrested 22-year-old Lindsay Simon and charged her with malice murder, concealing the death of another person, false reporting, and making false statements.
Prosecutors say Simon's motive had a lot to do with what was going on in her life, including her hostility towards Quinton's biological dad, a rocky relationship with her current boyfriend, a sexual relationship she had with her drug dealer, and the hard feelings she had towards her mother.
I failed her as a mom. I allowed addiction to take over my life at a young age. And you and your brother were just babies. And you lived with my sister, and I made sure you were okay. When you come to live with me, I'd already changed my life, and I'd been working really hard. But I had changed my addiction from drugs to work, and I still neglected your needs, your emotional needs. I still wasn't there for you.
According to the indictment, Simon allegedly beat Quinton with an object, causing cruel and excessive pain and causing him to die. Lindsay Simon was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole plus 10 years.
Leilani Marie Simon, the court sentences you as follows: life with the possibility of parole.
This Karen smothered her 9-year-old son to death.
Pierce, we're just going to set a remand in this case.
This is the mugshot for 41-year-old Brandy Pierce. She faces murder and child abuse charges in Detroit, accused of smothering her 9-year-old son Zemar and burying him in the backyard. New arrest warrants show police arrested Pierce in Brookhaven back in December 2024 for child cruelty against her 3-year-old.
We believe that the evidence will show that the defendant smothered and suffocated Zemar, and that the defendant heard his last gasping breath and decided to walk away. That when the defendant came back, he was blue. And instead of helping him, she decided to bind his arms and legs, put him in a wagon, and take him out to the hole that she had in her backyard and bury him.
Police immediately contacted other authorities as this child, Zor, was being checked out at a hospital in Metro Atlanta. Back then, Pierce told police that she had come to Metro Atlanta for a fresh start with her 3-year-old. This just months after prosecutors in Detroit say she killed her 9-year-old son and buried him in October 2024.
The cause of death found by the medical examiner was smothering and neck compression.
A gruesome death.
It's alleged that she purchased a shovel, she bound him by tying his hands and feet together, and dug a hole in the background of the house on Whittingham, where she had been living for a short time.
Detroit prosecutors say 41-year-old Brandy Pierce killed her 9-year-old son, Zemar. His remains weren't found until January 6, 2025, buried behind a garage at the rental home where she lived with him and 3-year-old Zor.
In a very shallow grave behind the garage, what appeared to be a foot and part of a shin sticking out of the ground.
Neighbors shocked to learn what happened there.
It's sad, though. It's really sad that that happened.
Sources say the landlord found the home empty 2 days before Thanksgiving. Pierce left to Georgia with her 3-year-old, but was arrested in Brookhaven at a Dollar General for cruelty to children. Officers found Zor in the front seat naked. Documents show both front seats were pulled forward, a small, deflated air mattress placed in the middle. Pierce was arrested again by Cobb County deputies on January 10th for possession of a controlled substance and theft.
We are charging Brandy Catrice Pierce today with 1 count of murder in the first degree premeditation. Count 2 is homicide felony murder.
Pierce is being held at the Cobb County Jail on a $155,000 bond. Her case is still ongoing. This Karen killed her baby just after giving birth in a hospital bathroom. Police in Artesia, New Mexico released this body cam of the suspect 19-year-old Alexi Treviso being confronted about the child's body being found dead.
We discovered a dead baby in the bathroom. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. He came out and I didn't know what to do.
Lexi, I told you about this. I just asked you, baby, to tell me the truth.
It was not crying or making.
Authorities say Treviso denied being pregnant when she arrived at the emergency room with back pain, but medical staff determined she was pregnant. They say she went to the bathroom for 20 minutes and wouldn't open the door. When she finally emerged, staff claimed the bathroom was covered in blood. A custodian was called in to clean it up and discovered the body while taking out the trash.
So when I picked it up, I realized that it was like a little heavier than it would be with just toilet paper and a trash bag.
Treviso's mother seemed to be shocked by the whole thing.
Like, how big is the baby?
It's full term.
What? 9 months?
Nothing was crying.
Lexi, have you watched the news of the girls that what they do to their babies and what they go to jail?
An autopsy performed on the baby boy determined he was breathing before he was put in a trash bag and deprived of oxygen, which caused his death, according to the report. Alexi Treviso was charged with first-degree murder, intentional abuse of a child resulting in death, and tampering with evidence. Her case is still ongoing.
I love him. I miss him. There's nothing I wouldn't do to bring him back.
This Karen is talking about the 5-year-old son she brutally murdered.
My heart and my mind are consumed with despair, pain, sadness, grief, unceasing anguish, and extreme remorse.
Joanne Cunningham pled guilty to slaying little AJ Freund. His voice from beyond proved to be crucial evidence. A recording played in court in which he said he wanted to see her hurt.
But why do you want them to hurt me? Why? So I don't ever see you again.
There was also this heartbreaking moment.
I just don't want a family.
Cunningham grabbed national attention when she and AJ's father reported the child missing.
What is your message to those people who think you're withholding information?
I have no control over what people think. I just want my son to come home, okay?
A K9 dog found AJ's scent in the trunk of his parents' car. And when police discovered his body in a shallow grave, they charged both parents with murder. The day AJ died, prosecutors say he was forced to take a 20-minute cold shower and was beaten with the shower head, punishment for soiling himself.
Through my negligence, my weaknesses, and failures, it created a host of problems for me.
His mom's words rang hollow as she read from a prepared statement. Prosecutors say her tears were all for herself. She was sentenced to 35 years with no chance of parole.
She is hereby sentenced to a determinate period in the custody of the Illinois Department of Corrections of 35 years.
The father, Andrew Freund, was sentenced to 30 years in prison, 11 years for aggravated battery of a child, 14 years for involuntary manslaughter, and 5 years for concealment of a homicidal death. The judge ordered all sentences to be served consecutively. This Karen,
Guilty.
has been convicted of conspiring to murder her 4th husband after spending the last 2 weeks trying to persuade the jury she didn't do
A
it.
family tragedy is not a crime.
Right after the verdict, the slain man's brother had this to say.
What did you think of her lawyering skills?
I thought she sucked.
Jurors in Phoenix also spoke out after the verdict.
Do you think she did herself any favors by
No.
defending herself?
No.
You were not impressed with her
No.
lawyering skills?
No. Many days she just was like smiling and laughing and didn't seem to take anything very seriously.
The notorious Lori Vallow Daybell, also called Doomsday Mom, acted as her own attorney. Her decision to act as her own lawyer fit a history of loving the spotlight. She was once a contestant in the Mrs. Texas pageant, and in 2004, a contestant on Wheel of Fortune.
I have a wonderful husband.
Doomsday Mom, Lori Vallow Daybell, was handed a life sentence for conspiring to murder her estranged husband.
Jesus Christ knows the truth of what happened here. Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case.
This is the latest life sentence Daybell has received after she was already sentenced in 2023 to 3 life sentences in the killings of her 2 youngest children and a romantic rival, her 5th husband's previous wife, Tammy Daybell. The slain man's sister had this message for Daybell.
We got you. You're not the smartest person in the room.
This Karen committed a shocking crime against her children. A Georgia mother is charged with 2 counts of murder after police say she put her 2 young sons in the oven and turned it on. The bodies of 1-year-old Jacarter Penn and 2-year-old Keontae Penn were found in their apartment over the weekend. Police say they had burns on their bodies and arrested their mother, 24-year-old Lamora Williams. Her family members say she had mental health problems and would often leave the children alone in the apartment. Lamora Williams was sentenced to life without parole, plus 35 years after being convicted on 14 charges, including the murder of her 2 sons.